Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 mini-series with the Los Angeles Angels. And we're a couple of months into the 2029 season after a pretty mediocre late March and April. Team played much better in the month of May. And as we sit here on June 1st, we have a 32-24 record, game and a half behind the Rangers in the American League West. Some of our players are having pretty good seasons. The big free agent acquisition this past offseason, the international free agent Yoshihiko Wakabayashi, leading the American League with a 362 batting average, and he's got a ridiculous 456 on base percentage for us. Last year's American League Rookie of the Year, Andres Rodriguez, is second in the AL with 18 homers. Big free agent signing from the first offseason, Kyle Tucker, is second in the AL with 45 ribbies. Wakabayashi is second in the AL in batter WAR. And Michael King, who was a big free agent acquisition for us that first offseason as well, tied for the league lead with 7 wins and second in the American League with a 2.01 ERA. As we touched upon in our last episode, not all of our new additions are doing incredibly well. We've got 2 months now until the trade deadline. Got about a month until we do our mid-season review. Given that we're playing pretty well overall for the season and better as of late, don't really see any real need to make any rash moves right now. We're going to give everybody another few weeks to get to the midway point of the season before we start thinking more seriously about any trades that we might need to make to try to improve our chances to hopefully finally win it all this year. We've been a playoff team the last couple of seasons, won the AL West both years, and had the best record in baseball last season. But unfortunately, we've been pretty brutal in the playoffs, getting knocked out in a ALDS in both 2027 and 2028. So hoping that with the improvements we've made to the team this past off season, we will be a more effective playoff and postseason team going forward. Other than simming through the next several weeks and getting to the midway point of the season, the other big focus in this episode is going to be getting prepared for the first-year player draft. Not going to necessarily spend a ton of time at the player combine, which is coming up in 6 days, only because when we do think about this rookie draft, we're not going to be picking till number 34 overall, and then we'll have the 38th overall pick as a promotional incentive for the fact that Rodriguez was the Rookie of the Year last year, but most of the real high-end prospects are likely to be off the board by the time we're picking, so not going to spend a ton of time digging into them at the draft combine, but we will definitely finish up this episode by taking a look at who is available when we are getting ready to pick number 34 overall and have 2 of the next 5 picks in the draft, because that's a situation where we can hopefully be strategic and come out of it with 2 players that we really like. And not a lot of divisional games on the schedule for our Angels in this month of June. We're going to have 7 road games towards the end of the month, 4 at Texas and 3 at the Athletics. And that's going to be it for us in the AL West. As we noted, we're behind the Rangers in the standing. The Athletics are actually last place in the division, but only 11 games behind. So if they were to really catch fire, they could get back into the division race. But they're certainly not incredibly well positioned with a 22-33 record. And we've simmed through the first 2.5 weeks of the month of June, just kind of hanging out an 8-7 record, so we haven't been playing incredibly well. But fortunately, Texas continues to struggle, as well as Houston. So we are in first place, half a game up on Houston, 3 up on Texas, and 8.5 up on the A's. Wakabayashi, Rodriguez, Tucker all continue to have very good seasons for us, and Michael King on the mound still doing well. Taj Bradley now third in the American League with his 7 wins behind Tanner Houck and Michael King. So team continues to do enough, but this is the big week that we mentioned at the start of the month. 7 games all on the road against divisional foes. So a really good performance on this road trip, and we can maybe solidify our position on top of the division, or at the very least open up a little more daylight between the Rangers and the A's and our Angels team, and maybe turn it into a closer race between only the Astros and the Angels if we're able to, for example, sweep the Rangers and take most of the games against the A's. Could definitely open up a pretty good sized lead on the Rangers if we have some success over these next 4 days. Unfortunately, though, we lost 3 out of 4 in Texas. Lost a 1-run game in 11 innings, and then lost by 4 runs and 2 runs in the 3rd and 4th games of the series. So even though we had a 7-0 victory, and we scored as many runs in the series as Texas did, we ended up winning just 1 of 3, so headed to face the Athletics for the final 3 games of the series. Houston has now opened up 2-game lead on us in the division, and we're unfortunately only a game ahead of the Rangers after dropping 3 out of 4 to Texas. And we did end up taking 2 out of 3 against the A's. So as we sit here 78 games into the season, a 43-35 record, tied for first place in the AL West with the Astros, game up on the Rangers. So a great battle between those 3 teams here in the American League West. And we're 1 game up, tied with the Astros, on the White Sox, the Orioles, and the Rangers for the final wild card spot. So a very tough division race and a very tough wild card race here in the American League in 2029. As we take a look at our midseason review of the goals from Artie Moreno, tough first half of the season. Really need to go full throttle to meet our goal of making the playoffs this year. Well, actually, we are in the playoffs if the season were to end today, so not necessarily completely accurate in terms of Moreno's description. But to be fair, at this point, Moreno is in his 80s, so he's perhaps not as lucid as he once was. Says that Emmanuel Rodriguez was a nice addition to our team as a power hitter, but still thinks we can do better. Wants us to improve our draft record, wants us to improve our fan interest, wants us to improve in extra inning games, and wants us to improve in our international amateur fines. So doesn't seem like he's particularly impressed with what we're doing. Good with our progress towards the goals, good with our handling of on-field and front office management. So overall, he seems reasonably constructive on what we've done. As we sit here in late June, taking a look at the team statistics, our 43-35 record is now 6 games below Pythagorean expectations. A brutal 1-7 record in extra inning games, and even worse, 1-14 record in 1-run games. Have to say that we've probably gotten pretty unlucky. We were 14-14 over the first month plus of the season. Had that really good 18-10 record in May, and then here in June we've dipped again to just being a 500 team. That being said, the secondary stats are pretty impressive. We're first in the American League in runs scored, and you can see we are first or second in the vast majority of offensive categories. Middle of the pack in steals and a good base running team. Second in the American League in runs allowed, and we're in the top 4 of every major pitching category except for home runs allowed, where we're a middle-of-the-pack 9th. And we've got the best defensive efficiency and best zone rating in the AL as well. So The team is definitely better in terms of statistics and better on paper than we are in terms of our one-loss record. Hopefully, if we get those performances that are really brutal in extra inning games and one-run games straightened out, we'll be able to go from being in a battle for the playoffs as we are right now to hopefully opening up some space over the last 3+ months of the season and putting ourselves in a position where we're competing for not just another AL West title, but hopefully the best record in baseball. And as I noted earlier, the pitching, the hitting, the defense all doing really well this year, so not expecting to see a lot of major holes to fill as we're reviewing our team. Disappointingly, our ace, Spencer Schwellenbach, who is banged up right now, but it's only a mild ab strain, so we're going to bench him for a couple of days. Fortunately, we've got an off day today, so hopefully Riley will be back on target to pitch tomorrow, although I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. I think we'll be fine with him then. But other than Schwellenbach, we're pretty healthy right now, which is positive. Ben Joyce has been on the IL for us the entire season, but we really haven't had a ton of injuries this year. But back to Schwellenbach, just a 3-5 record for our ace, 3.93 ERA. He's put up a 1.9 WAR. His ERA plus and his FIP minus both above average, but disappointingly just doesn't have a great one-loss record. He has allowed 12 home runs in 89 1/3 innings pitched. He's allowed as many home runs as he's allowed walks, so he's given up too many home runs, but he's walking an incredibly low number of batters. Hopefully get a better second half out of him, but certainly not anticipating a change there. Taj Bradley, 8-3 with a 4.38 ERA, pitching somewhat better this year than he did last season when he gave up a sickly 33 home runs. Still definitely has a proclivity towards giving up the dingers, but not as bad this year as a year before. Talked a lot about Michael King already this episode. 10-3 record, 2.08 ERA, 2.3 WAR on the season. He's having the best year of his stint with us here in Los Angeles so far. Christian Scott, who led the AL with 17 wins a year ago, only 5-3 this year. The ERA of 4.09, put up a 1.8 WAR. So from that perspective, he looks like he's going to be putting up a pretty similar season in terms of WAR to what he's done the last couple of years. But the win-loss record expected to be the least impressive that he's put up in any of his time in these past few years in Los Angeles with us. And then Jake Riley, the young left-hander, only 4-2, only involved in 6 decisions, and he's a guy with outstanding stamina. He's pitched 80 innings in his 13 starts, so he's going over 6 innings in his average game, so he should be involved in more decisions, but just hasn't been for whatever reason. But a sub-3 ERA and a 2.3 WAR. The former 14th overall pick out of Stanford is having a pretty solid rookie year for us. Joan Duran hasn't pitched incredibly much, only 17 1/3 innings as our closer. He does have 12 saves, 3.12 ERA, but he's basically been a replacement level player. 13 walks in those 17 1/3 innings has helped push his ERA up to 1.21, despite allowing only 8 hits on the season. Cade Smith, who as you can see is in a slump right now, has seen his ERA balloon to 5.73 as a stopper. The issue is pretty obviously looking at his statistics. He's given up a sickly 10 home runs in 37 2/3 innings. Taking a look at his pitching splits, and it's gotten real ugly here in the month of June. He's allowed 6 home runs in just 10 2/3 innings pitched, put up an ERA of over 9 this month. Hopefully he gets out of that slump soon. The rest of the bullpen doing reasonably well, although we can't really say spectacular. The lefty Garrett McDaniels, 2-2 record, 3.63 ERA, striking out almost 12 batters per 9 innings. He's having another good, solid season as a lefty reliever for us. The new addition from the Yankees, Carlos Espinosa, has been okay. ERA of just over 4 in 24 and 2/3 innings. He's been slightly below replacement level. Certainly we're hoping more for him given the way his ratings look, but it is what it is. The middle relievers have been solid. Colin Snyder at 2.37 ERA. He's been a good, solid reliever for us ever since we picked him up on a waiver claim from Seattle a few years ago. Ryan Walker, who we picked up in a trade with the Dodgers a couple of years ago, also having a solid season, sub-3 ERA for him as well, over 33 and 2/3 innings pitched on the season. George Klassen, who struggled as a starter for us when he was filling in when we had some injury issues early in the year with Mr. Riley, has done a pretty solid job for us out of the bullpen overall. 4.41 ERA over 51 innings pitched. Looking at his splits as a starter, a 9 ERA, but a sub-4 ERA as a reliever, so he's done a good job in long relief for us. Gabe Spire, our lefty specialist, the ERA has climbed to 4.30 this year. He has allowed 4 home runs in just 23 innings pitched. Always would love to add another top-line starter, but honestly, when you look at how our starters have performed, feel pretty good about what we have. Certainly would love someone with more exceptional stuff than this pitching staff that we have. It's pretty much guys with average stuff, with the exception of Taj Bradley's, whose stuff is a little bit above average. Hopefully, if Cade Smith breaks out of that slump, that will help the bullpen. Definitely feel like we could use another lefty, especially with Spire not being particularly effective this year. But I don't see any glaring holes in the pitching staff, but that doesn't mean we won't continue to look to try to improve things going forward. Turning now to our position players, and as we talked about earlier, we've got the top scoring team in the American League. Juan Flores, who's our platoon catcher, the right-handed hitter, playing and starting only against lefties unless Kim needs a day off, is having a really nice offensive season for us. 268 average with 3 homers and 15 ribbies in just 82 at-bats. 120 WRC plus, almost a full win above replacement. He has been raking against left-handed pitching, hitting .358, only 3 for 29 against righties, but fortunately he hasn't faced too many righties on this season so far. Min Jae Kim, who's the everyday catcher against right-handed pitchers. Bit disappointing given what we expected from him offensively. The batting average is only .215, 7 homers and 22 ribbies in 191 at-bats. He does have that really good eye that we anticipated. He's walked 36 times, so his on-base percentage is about 125 points higher than his batting average, which is a saving grace for him. That said, still just an 89 WRC plus and only a 1 WAR win on the season. He's a guy with pretty dramatic rating splits, and he's been about a league average hitter against right-handed pitching. We expected better than that. As expected, he's been pretty bad against left-handed pitching, but certainly a 138 average against lefties is worse than we were anticipating for Limonar Kim. Turning to our infielders, first baseman Vlad Guerrero Jr. had his best year of his 3 years with us a season ago. Here in the 4th year, he's regressing a bit. Batting average of .264 is respectable, but 9 home runs in 292 at-bats, certainly not what we're expecting from a $37 million cleanup hitter. Has driven in 45 runs, still has a 111 WRC plus, but we're certainly hoping that he'd be much more above league average than just 11% in terms of his WRC plus and 18% in terms of his OPS plus. Sean Gamble, the rookie, .280 average, not a ton of power, 3 homers and 23 ribbies. Still struggling on the base paths, only 5 out of 10 in terms of success. But he does have 20 doubles. He's scored 54 runs. Decent batting eye, 370 on base percentage. So he's put up a 114 WRC plus and a 1.8 WAR overall. Certainly having a pretty positive rookie season for the number 27 prospect in baseball. With Gamble on the team, Zach Neto is now starting only against left-handed pitching, more of a utility infielder for us. Hitting just .228 this year, so not being out there every day seems to not necessarily work very well for Neto, who with a $12 million salary is also making a lot of money for a guy who's starting less than half of our games. 97 WRC plus, so he hasn't been entirely inept, has drawn 18 walks and also has 10 extra base hits for us, but only half a win above replacement for Mr. Neto. Addison Barger, the third baseman, is in a slump. The batting average has gone down to .228, only 6 home runs and 25 ribbies. He was a guy who's been really solid for us from 2026 to 2028 after we picked him up in a trade with Toronto. Seemed to kind of outperform what we thought his ratings were every year. This season, though, certainly can't say that yet with an 82 WRC plus. Not inconceivable that depending on how things go, could look to curtail his playing time a little bit. Anthony Volpe, another guy with the additions of Gamble and Wakabayashi, has moved into more of a utility infielder role this year, and he's hitting just .220, 5 home runs and 132 at-bats, 66 WRC plus. He's basically been a replacement level player for us, which certainly isn't what we were hoping for. He is on a hot streak right now, so hopefully we'll be facing some left-handed pitchers to get that bat into the lineup. Final infielder is Wakabayashi, the huge addition from this offseason, and he is having a monster first year in the majors. Technically his rookie season. Would think he's going to be an incredibly strong candidate to win Rookie of the Year. Batting .347 with an on-base percentage of .440, 17 doubles on the year, scored 46 runs, driven in 42. Ultimately has put up a 151 WRC plus and a WAR of close to 4. Looking at his fielding statistics, zone rating and defensive efficiency, both pretty reasonably above average for a defensive shortstop. So Swaney Wakabayashi definitely helping us with the bat and helping us with his glove as well. Last but not least, we'll turn to our outfielders. Dylan Cruz, who's starting only against left-handed pitching for us, definitely having a rough year, hitting just .208, 5 homers and 20 ribbies and 130 at-bats. Walked only 10 times on the season, so on-base percentage of well below 300, 85 WRC plus. He's basically been a replacement level player. His morale is angry. He's upset with his performance, also upset with his role on the team. We're playing him only against lefties where he should be as effective as he can be, so not really sure what he's complaining about as far as that. Emmanuel Rodriguez, who we picked up in a trade with the Twins this offseason, having a rough year as the other half of a platoon with Cruz. Still struggling to get the batting average up above the Mendoza line, hitting just .194 on the year. Positively, he has drawn 29 walks, so the on-base percentage just above 300. Not that that's a great number, but it's more than 100 points higher than his batting average. Only 4 home runs and 186 at-bats, 71 WRC plus, and he's been below replacement level. So that platoon not working out well for us. Cruz is actually in the platoon as a DH because Gamble is better defensively than him in left field. But neither of those guys is contributing the way that we hoped. In contrast, Andres Rodriguez having an outstanding season to follow up his Rookie of the Year award, has his batting average up to .293, 22 homers and 52 ribbies, scored 56 runs, only 4 out of 6 stealing bases. He's a guy with really good speed, really good stealing aggressiveness and stealing ability, and an outstanding base runner. Looking at the strategy settings, we're above average in terms of his frequency to steal bases and base running, but we'll bump both of those up another notch to try to get him a little more active on the base paths. But overall, 149 WRC plus and a 3.7 WAR on the season. Taking a look at his glove, zone rating, and defensive efficiency, both a bit above average there in center field for Put Rodriguez. Anthony Scull, playing primarily against right-handed pitching, 288 average, 11 doubles, 2 triples, 4 home runs, and 198 at-bats. 112 WRC plus, almost a win above replacement as a utility outfielder, part-time DH. The 25-year-old certainly having a solid year. Speaking of solid years, Kyle Tucker, perhaps on his way to his best season since we picked him up in that big 2025 to 2026 offseason. Batting average only 250, but he's already got 18 homers and 54 ribbies, putting up a 127 WRC plus and a WAR of close to 2 here as we sit on June 25th. So left field is the obvious issue that I'd like to solve. I think in the infield, certainly have had some disappointing performances. Wakabayashi's been great. Gamble's been good. Guerrero's been fine, but disappointing given what he's paid. Neto, Barger, and Volpe all struggling. But I think with the skill set those guys have, it's going to be hard for us to make a real significant upgrade to the back end of the infield. Certainly looking for more offense than Kim has given us thus far. There is a argument to be made if we make some moves, for instance, like moving on from Rodriguez, could put Scull into the outfield, put Kim into a DH role, and then bring up Drake Baldwin, who's better defensively than Kim, to potentially platoon with Juan Flores. So we do have some levers to push as far as our catchers. But given that on paper we've probably got the best team in the American League, don't feel any super urgency to make any dramatic moves here on June 25th. Not expecting that the trade blocks are going to be incredibly robust here in June. A few players out there, though. Luis Garcia Jr., Bo Naylor, and our old buddy Logan O'Hoppe, all available. Luis Garcia Jr. certainly could be an interesting infielder, but again, that's not a huge issue of need for us. Naylor and O'Hoppe are both catchers, but as I alluded to, with the fact that we've got Drake Baldwin down in AAA, I think if we do decide to move Kim into a designated hitter role, we probably got the answer at catcher in AAA. Certainly could argue that Naylor and O'Hoppe are better bats than Baldwin. Probably isn't even an argument, but Baldwin definitely has a better glove than either of them, so might just bring him up if we decide to make a move as far as our catcher position. Looking at the pitchers, Duran, who we've had on the trading block, and Johnny Lasagna are the highest rated players on the trade block at this point, according to our scout. Our old buddy Luke Weaver, also available on the trade market. Doesn't necessarily look like he's that much of an impact player anymore. Most highly regarded lefty out there is Christopher Sanchez. Doesn't have incredible stuff, given that we're looking to maybe upgrade our left-handed relief. Would hope someone a little more effective against lefties would be available, so we may have to expand the search away from the trade block going forward if we're going to find someone who can really be an impactful addition to our team over these next 5+ weeks till we get to the trade deadline. And with the team playing better over the last month and a half or so, even though we're only 500 here in the month of June. Fan interest has picked up a bit. Attendance has picked up a bit. That said, we are still poised to lose a lot of money this year, which Mr. Moreno is not going to like. Our overall revenue down very significantly from where it was a year ago, as the fans in Los Angeles just are not buying what we are trying to sell as far as this team for whatever reason. And now that we're finished off with that 7-game road trip against divisional rivals, we'll be facing some NL teams at home over the rest of this month, hosting the Mets and then beginning a series against the Reds before the calendar flips to July. And we finished the month of June very well, sweeping the Mets and taking the first 2 games against the Reds. So as we sit here on July 1st, we've got a 1.5-game lead in the division over the Astros, 3 games up on the Rangers, 578 winning percentage, tied for the second best record in the American League with the Guardians. And both us and the Guardians are 1.5 games behind the Red Sox and the Phillies for the best record in all of baseball. Good news and bad news. The good news, the great young center fielder Andres Rodriguez was just named the American League Batter of the Month. The really bad news, though, we just lost the guy who was having our best season among any of our pitchers, Michael King, torn rotator cuff, out for 4 months. If we make a incredibly long postseason run, maybe we have him back for the World Series. But for all practical purposes, his season is likely over. Going to finish with a 10-3 record, 2.06 ERA, and a 2.3 WAR. Definitely feel like we're a little lacking in the rotation at this point, like the 4 guys who would be in our postseason rotation even without King, although certainly would prefer to have him in the rotation. But number 5 starter could be an issue for us going forward. So the injury to King definitely creates something else for us to think about in the trade market over this month of July. And with King going on the IL, we'll give Klassen the first opportunity to be our number 5 starter. And we've also brought Brock Selvage back up to the major leagues. He's been effective this year in the majors, but pretty brutal in AAA, where he's been 4-5 with an ERA of close to 8. Allowed a sick 17 home runs in just 64 1/3 innings pitched. And although we snapped our 5-game winning streak, losing the last game at home against Cincinnati, we've won 3 out of 4 since then, taking a series against San Diego and winning the first against the Giants, sorry Peter Hooper, here on Friday, July 6th. Some more negative injury news right when I was talking at the midway point of the season about how fortunate we had done with injuries. We lose King for the year, and now the really good rookie Sean Gamble having some back spasms that's going to keep him out for the next month. 279 average with a 115 WRC plus for Gamble. We do have some pretty good depth in the infield with Neto and Volpe around. So some of the guys who were regulars for us in the past will be getting a little more playing time going forward over the next month or so until either Gamble is back or we make a trade to supplement the roster further. And we made it to draft day. It's been lose one, win one, lose one, win one against the Giants in Kansas City over the last 4 days. So as we sit here on July 11th getting ready for the draft, 53-39 record, a 1.5 games up on the Astros, 3.5 up on the Rangers. We are percentage points behind the Red Sox for the best record in the American League and the best record in baseball. As we sit here on July 11th, Wakabayashi second in the batting race, Rodriguez tied for second in homers, second in the league in ribbies, second in the league in OPS, and second in the league in batter WAR. For the time being, Michael King continues to lead the league in ERA, but with just 96 innings pitched on the season, and us now 92 games into the season, he's going to be falling off of the leaderboard there over the next week or so. Taj Bradley now leading the league in wins. King tied for second in wins, but again, he'll be falling off of that in the not too distant future. We have, as I noted, though, made it to draft day. And as I said earlier, we've got the 34th and the 38th picks in this year's draft. We are going to go ahead and get the draft started and go ahead and auto draft until our next pick and find out who's on the board. Turn things over to the worldwide scouting department for some advice on some of the top prospects before we make our decisions in our next episode. And we've simmed ahead to our pick, so we'll take a look at the options available. Did just want to highlight one thing that I noted in the last episode that seemed like an issue. Looking at the draft order, we can see the 3 million that we've got slotted for the 34th pick, and then the erroneous 7.8 million slotted for our compensatory pick. So that stuff is still definitely wrong on the draft order board. But when we go into Draft Central, looks like the numbers are right. Still have the 3 million for the 34th pick, and it is a bit lower for the supplemental first round pick. So kind of weird that those things are displayed improperly on the two different screens. But it looks like here on Draft Central, the number is actually correct at this point. Our scout recommends a few different players. One of them is the right fielder, Sam Person, 18-year-old out of Marshfield, Mass., committed to Hofstra, left-handed hitting right fielder. Looks like he's competent defensively, not great speed, although he is very good at sacrifice bunting, although he is awful at bunting for a hit. Does have high leadership and a bat that looks like could be a pretty good contact and eye rating for him if all goes well. So a decent on-base percentage, pretty average-ish in terms of his power. Looks like he could be a useful player, but certainly not a superstar. 24-year-old, an old player for the draft, starting pitcher Joey Volchko out of Stanford. That's interesting because, as we were talking about earlier, we've already got Jake Riley out of Stanford as a former first-round pick. I think that Volchko could have stuff and movement both above average. The control we expect at best will be below average. Looks like a potential 4-pitch arsenal. I think his fastball and his slider could both be excellent to go with a good curve and a decent changeup if he fully develops. Throws in the mid to high 90s, pretty good stamina. Don't love the low work ethic, but he does have some positive personality traits with the high adaptability and baseball IQ and the low financial ambition, which I got myself ahead of talking about. Catcher Justin Salvatore, a very high bonus demand of $9 million. Looks like a solid defensive catcher who could be a pretty interesting contact hitter behind the plate. And the final scouting recommendation is another starting pitcher, Orlando Lund, 18-year-old high schooler out of Washington, committed to Oregon State. I don't think his stuff is all that great. Do think his movement and control could be a bit above average. Only a 3-pitch arsenal, and he's got a pretty brutal changeup as one of those 3 pitches. So definitely some work to be done for Orlando Lund to make it as a major leaguer. So Person, Volchko, Salvatore, and Lund are the guys that our scout is most enthusiastic about. Another catcher, not Salvatore, Francisco Rosario, is expected to go 9th in the draft. Looks okay defensively, okay-ish offensively, poor competition level, playing at Treasure Valley Community College in Ontario, Oregon. A lot of negative personality traits for Rosario. I can kind of see why he hasn't gone as high as he was projected. Shortstop Alex Harrington out of Stanford is a guy who was also projected to already be off the board. Really like his glove. The bat looks like a average-ish, competent major league bat. Decent speed, decent base runner. Don't hate the 22-year-old as someone who might be able to help us in the not too distant future. Left fielder Chris Christ was projected to go 16th overall to the Yankees. Not a good defensive player, but a little bit of home run pop in the left-hander's bat. Brett Bedard was expected to go 17th to Arizona. 19-year-old starting pitching prospect. Throws in the mid to high 90s, but he's fragile physically. Potentially a 4-pitch arsenal, although we don't think the knuckle curve and the changeup are going to be particularly strong pitches. Looks like a guy who could give up a lot of home runs, very poor movement on his pitches, and also question his control. Don't know that Bedard is ultimately going to be exactly what we're looking for. Right fielder Tyler McNulty was projected to go 21st. Little bit of gap power. Otherwise, looks like a pretty average-ish offensive player, not going to draw a ton of walks. We've already talked about Justin Salvatore, another guy who was already supposed to be off the board, starting pitcher Cameron Flukie out of Egg Harbor Township High School. A lot of negative personality traits. Outside of his good work ethic, everything else is negative. He never gives less than 100%, but he's not loyal and he's no Einstein. Worry a little bit about his control and his movement on his pitches. Has some work to develop a full 3-pitch arsenal. The 24-year-old says he's been in college for the last 5 years. But he's listed with Egg Harbor Township High School, so not really sure exactly what is going on there, because it says he's eligible from college, but his current status is a high school senior. That doesn't make sense to me. If any of you can explain what I'm missing, how a 24-year-old who's got 5 years of college experience is a status of a high school senior. Would love to kind of hear the explanation in the comment section to the episode, because I can't here on the fly put the logic of that one together for me. 2 other players expected to be off the board by now. Starting pitcher John Voits, not John Voight, but John Voits, a soon-to-be 20-year-old, looks like best case scenario, kind of a respectable 5th starter going forward. And the last guy who was expected to be off the books, third baseman Adam Lahr. Looks like a pretty well-balanced, slightly above-average batting profile. Not the greatest defensive profile out there, but do like the high leadership and work ethic. So can't say there's anyone who jumps off the page as someone I'm going to be all that excited to bring on board. The highest regarded people out there, we've talked about Salvatore, we've talked about Christ. I don't know if we've talked about Roberto Alamo, though. Third baseman, potentially great eye, great home run power, but contact is going to be a struggle, and he looks like a guy who could strike out close to 300 times if he played a 162-game season in the major leagues. So certainly a flawed prospect there, but well above average home run power and borderline exceptional eye. So certainly has some positive traits to consider bringing on board. Taking a look at some of the other highly regarded pitchers, just in case we haven't touched upon them all. And it does look like some of the highest regarded guys are guys that we haven't talked about, although in most cases relief pitchers. Closer Jorge Carrillo out of Duke. Looks like he is not far off major league quality. Has a pretty good fastball that we think can get a lot better. Think he could ultimately hit triple digits on the gun. Some negative personality traits for the 21-year-old closer. Jamie Mishral, also known as the Joker, another guy with some negative personality traits, and think the 22-year-old out of Westchester University is going to always be walking an insane amount of batters. Walked 44 this past year in 80 innings pitched. Has been better with the Frederick Keys in the development league thus far, but still looks like a guy who's got a lot of work to do. Final reliever, a high schooler, Pat Decker. Think he's a guy who could eventually hit 100 miles an hour on the radar gun, and he's honestly not that far off it quite yet. Fastball changeup combination could be pretty devastating if he develops that changeup. Got a lot of work to do to get there, but think his stuff could be exceptional with average-ish movement and above average control. Starting pitcher, I don't think we talked about Nestor Romero, possibly because he's impossible to sign and our scout hasn't mentioned him. Potential 4-pitch arsenal, potential really good stamina, good at holding on runners. I think his stuff could be well above average, pretty average movement and control. Throws in the high 90s, but again, looks like he's going to be impossible to sign. So a pretty interesting crew out there. Looks like there's a couple other college pitchers to maybe take a quick look at. Gabe Bagley, low loyalty and adaptability. Otherwise, though, really good control. Looks like he could be a useful back of the rotation pitcher, and if he reached his full potential and really was slightly above average stuff, average movement, and borderline great control, could be a pretty interesting major league pitcher. Reliever Corey Bronze is fairly well developed, stuff, movement, and control, not far off major league quality. The lefty reliever out of Purdue certainly seems like someone who could help a team in the not too distant future. Don't know if he's a guy that we take 34th overall. Like the personality of Jason DeCaro, 23-year-old out of St. Anthony's. This is another guy with a really weird profile. He's a 23-year-old who's spent the last 5 years in high school, committed to Hofstra, looking for $8.5 million. Was hoping he would be an actual college guy. Now, he's pretty advanced for a high schooler, but he's not particularly advanced for a guy who's already 23 years old. So definitely seeing some quirky things with some of these players in the draft pool this year. I can't say that there's a guy that I'm in love with on a first glance through this group, but would love to hear what the worldwide scouting department is thinking. We've talked about Romero. I guess one guy, Justin Garside, haven't, I don't think, talked about him. Another high school pitcher who looks like his control is going to be a massive issue and has a few personality quirks. So we've got 2 of the next 5 picks, but as I said, there's no obvious pound-the-table guy to me among the people that we've looked at. I'll have to give a little more thought to it offline. Don't hate Joey Volchko as a guy who's a little bit closer, but I can't say I'm absolutely in love with him either. So I'm going to spend a fair amount of time offline getting ready to make this selection. I know I can always count on the worldwide scouting department to share some ideas with me as well as perhaps what we should pursue, but can't say that I'm incredibly impressed by the pool that we have left here, with 2 of the next 5 picks coming to our Los Angeles Angels. That being said, we'll do what we can to try to make the right selections as we sit here on July 11th, though, where basically tied for the best record in baseball with the Red Sox. We've got a 1.5 game lead on the division. Feel like we're in a pretty good spot to guide this team back into the playoffs. That being said, we have had a couple of pretty significant injuries lately, with Gamble and King joining Joyce on the injured list. Joyce and King both gone for the year. Should have Gamble back shortly. So next time around, we'll obviously focus on the draft and getting ready for the All-Star break, and then we'll be turning our attention to whether there's anything we can do in the trade market to help these win-now Angels be as well-positioned as possible come October. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.